Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am your entrepreneurship tutor, Professor Henry Buis of Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. Yes, the minister read the budget just yesterday, and I listened to the budget and I've looked at the same budget, and I am asking, was the agricultural sector starved? Was it denied money? Yes. I looked and observed some of the allocations, and here are those that I observed. Look at that. These are a selected allocations that I captured. You can see the LAPSSET project, SGR, Kenya Wildlife Services, Health Interns, Agriculture, Nairobi Metropolitan Services, the industrial parks, the small and medium enterprises, the Big Four agenda, and the Kazi Mtaani. And I compared those allocations. Look, agriculture out there, 1.97. I'm comparing them to the SGR, Nairobi Metropolitan Services, the Big Four. Let's look at it again now through a pie chart. There it is. Very small 1.97 there compared to these other sectors. And all that, when we have that kind of scenario in quite a number of maize producing areas, look at the miserable maize, and agriculture allocated a lot less than some other sectors. And that's what made me think, are we sure we're not starving agriculture? Are we going to address these scenarios, correct them with that kind of allocation? And then let's look at it again. Now, I took a few ministries: Agriculture Ministry, Education Ministry, Transport, Defense, and Health. We can look at it again through the pie chart. There it is. The sectors, as we saw earlier, agriculture to me looked like it was starved. Ministries, again, are selected. You can see again, agriculture getting the lowest. And yet, again, we have those scenarios. 150 billion worth of food going to waste. That means it post-harvest losses. And if when I looked at these allocations and looked at the scenario in agriculture, then I got a feeling that agriculture was starved. Well, you can argue that some of the projects that are not direct in agriculture, like the Big Four, somehow when you talk of food security, they cover it. But I was just sealing out agriculture on its own. And let me put agriculture in perspective. Yes, Kenya's agricultural sector, we are told, is the backbone of our economy. It contributes more than 30% to our GDP as a single sector. It employs more than 40% of the total population. and more than 70% of the rural population. It generates forex. When we export our tea, our coffee, pyrethrum, and all that you want to think about export. However, with all this notable contribution, being the backbone of our economy, farmers and agricultural enterprises have productivity challenges. You saw the pictures. You saw the miserable maize. You saw the post-harvest losses. And again, only 8% of land is under cultivation. Only about 20% of land is arable. What does that mean? That if we can increase these percentages, then agriculture will play even more. If these percentages can be increased, these percentages cannot increase if we are not allocating resources to the agriculture sector. And therefore, much as agriculture is giving us these goodies, we are not going to improve it. So in my opinion, agriculture was starved. Now, I want to do a generic value chain analysis of the agricultural sector so that we understand how actually it can engineer development in this country. Yes, value chain. You can see a chain. Well, we say that a chain is as strong as its weakest link. A value chain implies a full range of activities needed to create a product or service. That's a value chain. And that chain is as strong as its weakest link. The red link you can see there. In matters agriculture, we have the value chain. Production on the farm, harvesting and transport. These are the activities that go on in agriculture to produce the final product, and therefore we call it a value chain. Production, harvesting and transport, primary processing and storage, second processing, distribution, packaging and handling, wholesale and retail markets. All these links are the ones that generate those positive aspects that we saw. So, value chain. Now, let's look at some selected actors on the said value chain. At production, we have smallholder farmers, we have farmer associations, we have input providers, to mention but a few. At harvesting and transport, we have smallholder farmers again, farmer associations, logistic companies, including transport. At primary processing and storage, we have primary processors, machinery suppliers. At second processing, we have second processors, machinery suppliers. At the distribution, packaging and handling link, we have packaging companies, logistic companies. And finally, we have grocery stores and supermarkets, food and beverage companies. Yes, these are some of the actors of the agricultural value chain. Look at them. They actually form the majority of our population. So if we do not allocate a lot of attention to the agriculture sector, all these actors stand to suffer. And when they suffer, the whole country suffers. The economy suffers. Let's have another view of the selected actors on the agriculture value chain. Yes, at the inputs, At the input stage, you have seed, irrigation, pumping, livestock feed, fertilizer, the input. At the production, you have on-farm mechanization, reduction in human labor requirements, increased operational efficiencies, saying activities. If attention given to agriculture, these are some of the results that we should be expecting. Transport, farm to collection centers to processing facility and the market. Transport, storage and handling, cold storage, moisture control, mechanized sorting, packaging, all these activities take place on the value chain, and there are population that's employed in those activities. And therefore, if we direct attention to agriculture, how much are we contributing to this country? Value-added processing, the drying, the grinding, the milling, transport and logistics, warehouse, road, rail, and maritime transport, marketing and the distribution, again, packaging, retail, supermarket, refrigeration, and all that. The end user, me and you who consume, cooking, transport, household appliances. What are we seeing here? That the agricultural value chain is rich in matters GDP generation, employment generation, and therefore building this economy. And it looks like if we starve that sector, we're having punishing, so to speak, all these actors who form the bulk of the population. Yes, let's go back to our chain. The chain is linked. In matters agriculture, you can see the inputs, the smallholder production, processing, marketing, retailing, and consumption. And now, can we now relate the Big Four agenda to this value chain? Look at that. When we have inputs, a smallholder producing well, if we have financed this link very well, our food security can be guaranteed. That's one of the four, the Big Four agenda. So just by addressing agriculture, you are addressing the food security. The manufacturing, I can say endogenous manufacturing that is homegrown. We're using our own materials, agricultural materials, to manufacture. And mind you, when we manufacture, we use machinery. So even without planning for machinery, the demand for the machinery is already created. Once we address agriculture, manufacturing comes in. And if we have consumption, a health nation is a wealth nation. Universal or affordable health services. People get sick partially because they can't afford to eat well. And therefore, when we have done agriculture and people are eating well, balanced diet, we shall be reducing sickness. And therefore, the three pillars or the three agendas of the four taken quite a good care of by the agricultural value chain. And of course, there is some multiplier effect associated with the agricultural value chain. Or did you say what's multiplier effect? Yes. Multiplier effect is like the snowballing of economic activity due to an improvement in agricultural productivity. One improvement in agricultural productivity generates many more. If new jobs are created, people who take them have money to spend in the shops, which means that the more workers, more shop workers are needed. That's what we're calling multiplier effect. One action leads to even more benefits. It is like a domino effect. Let's see the multiplier effect. The government announces extra spending on education. For example, the government announces extra spending on education, and what happens? Schools can employ extra teachers, and when the schools employ extra teachers, new teachers will buy new computers, and therefore the computer stores employ more workers. The new computer store workers spend money in restaurants, and restaurants hire more chefs and waiters, and you see the domino effect. Just one announcement there, the government announces extra spending on education, and it causes that multiplier effect. So there is a multiplier effect in agriculture value chain. Let's start with production. Yes, we have production there. Land preparation, fertilizer, crop production, irrigation, harvesting technology. Just by pumping some funds into the production alone, we create that, plus reduced drudgery, increased yields, rural development, efficiency on farm operations, new employment opportunities. Just one link, and look at how much multiplier effect is created. Of course, after production, we come to post-harvest. And the post-harvest means the drying, the storage. I'm not mentioning the machinery. So again, we didn't need necessarily to invest in machinery sector. We have created demand for them by investing in agriculture. And apart from storage and drying, we have also research, so that we reduce post-harvest, losses. Like we saw the standard in the first slide, we saw the standard reporting how much we lose, 150 billion. We also have other activities like new employment opportunities, increased farm income, rural development, and so on and so forth. So one link, first link, creates all that multiplier effect. Second link, let's go on. Processing. In the processing, we have that grinding, packaging, and all that requires machinery. So by investing in agriculture, by increasing agriculture, we are logically, by extension, already supporting manufacturing. And more than that, additional processing producers, diversity of feed for animals, for example, and all those multiplier effects, positive activities that come with Then we have distribution, of course, transportation, and we have them there. You know, we are talking of access to new markets, you know, and so on and so forth. So we can see the multiplier effect that we can create by simply injecting funds in the agricultural sector. Let's look at them again from another point of view. The inputs, equipment, seed, fertilizer, phytoproducts, packaging, production, nursery plantation, maintenance, harvest, local trade, organization, storage, packaging, quality tests, processing, post-harvest, storage, shelling, roasting, packaging, control quality standard, export. So we're saying that the value chain of agriculture has reached very positive contribution to the economy. You can see, right from production up to export, private transporters are with great demand. Local equipment suppliers and the dealers, they will supply from inputs to local trade and all that. We have created demand for these services. The input distributors, the seed producers, nurseries and cooperatives, producers, cooperatives, and the value of the cooperative movement in any country. Primary procurement agents along the value chain, producer cooperatives, traders, industrial processors, that manufacturing that we're talking about, semi-industrial processors, small-scale processors, cottage industry if you like. For export, consignees, exporters, wholesale dealers. You see, the multiplier effect we're generating in the economy by simply injecting a few funds in the agricultural sector. Because it's our backbone. Agriculture sector is the backbone of our economy. Let's look at it again. The agriculture sector, the primary inputs, farmland, greenhouse, seed fertilizer, equipment, crop protection, those are the activities that will mushroom or get enhanced. Look at production and processing, food packaging, vegetable proteins, poultry, dairy, seafood, all this, sugar, ethanol, corn processing, oil seed processing, and all that. And each one of these comes with its own value chain, which leads again to demand for machinery, appropriate technology if you want, demand for training, demand for education, and so on and so forth. Then the transport sector, storage, the rail, the shipping, the cold storage, distribution. Yes, one may argue, and it has been argued, that we are putting in SGR, and the allocation to SGR very high. But today's SGR we're investing in for years to come. Of course, there is a debate which leads to another. Is it development to production to transport, or transport to production? We may argue about that. It's like the hen and egg. In some cases, it is transport goes where the development is. In other cases, development goes where transport is. So we can argue about that. But if you are producing for today, you want to take care of today, you might want to balance, between putting in SGR and looking 50 years from now and lose the productivity of today because of divergence or of funds. So that we can argue. So in conclusion, I want to say that the agricultural sector manufacturing sector is anchored as an anchor into agriculture. Our homegrown manufacturing sector, even the industrial parks that we are spending on, even at county levels, our industrial parks, those industrial parks, we should do good, appropriate feasibility studies so that the factories, the manufacturing that goes into them should benefit the local economy. Let's say vegetable oil production, and then it leads to agriculture, oil crop production, and so our manufacturing should be as much as possible anchored in agriculture. So the manufacturing is one of the big four. That manufacturing will lead to food security, will lead to affordable housing. I mean, we talk of forestry, deforestry, lumbering, and will lead to healthy nation. So the big four agendas: agriculture, directing effort in agriculture, will automatically lead to an improvement in the big four. And therefore, when I see the amount of money going to agriculture in the budget, I feel the sector has been understaffed. Really starved, not even understaffed. Maybe it's undervalued, and yet we are an agricultural economy. Our comparative advantage is in agriculture. I'm not sure that we can now invest in producing a car. We attempted the Nyayo Pioneer car, but for whom were we producing it? It made one round around the stadium. But if we invested in hand-driven tractors, our institutions of learning, training institutions, R&D institutions, universities, Jomo Kenyatta University, my university, Egerton University, agricultural universities, supporting them to support agriculture. And we shall lead to the big four. So in my opinion, I think that the agriculture sector was understaffed, but that is my opinion. I'm persuaded, I'm convinced that we can do more for agriculture and our economy. Even the industrialization, rural industrialization if you want, should be anchored on our comparative advantage in agriculture. So, if you enjoyed it, please like it, share it, and subscribe, because we shall be bringing more. And when we upload our videos, you'll be the first to get it, because you'll be alerted if you have subscribed. And if you wish, if you think that you can support us to bring you more, you can donate. And to donate, you need just to go to www.mukmik.co.ke. The donation directions are there. If that's too much for you, you can just use your phone, Lipa na M-Pesa, buy goods number 5476465. I also wish to add that you can request a topic for us to cover. Just reach us through that email, bwihem@gmail.com. Request what you want us to cover in entrepreneurship, in business, and when we can and where we can, we shall do it. Thank you very much. and have an agricultural day, won't you?